Number 10. Florence Pugh. As we know, the Hollywood it girl appears in Olivia Wilde's new film Don't Worry Darling alongside Harry Styles. However, there was reportedly much tension on the set between the two women. Florence reportedly wasn't too happy seeing her director hooking up with Harry, considering the fact that at the time she was still with Jason Sudeikis, whom she is very good friends with. So it makes sense that she wouldn't be too happy seeing the two of them together when Jason was allegedly oblivious to the affair on set and even brought their two young children to visit their mother. But what was Harry's role in all of this? Well, not a whole lot, but it's pretty apparent that Florence disapproves of his new romance with Olivia Wilde. During the premiere of Don't Worry Darling at the Venice Film Festival, fans noticed that the actress avoided both Harry and Olivia like the plague. She posed for group shots with the entire cast, but did not get any photos alone with Harry, even though they were both central characters and love interests in the film. Florence also was said to have avoided eye contact with both of them throughout the premiere and seemed to leave the event as soon as possible. So with everything that went down, it's highly unlikely they'll be working together again in the future. Number 8. Zayn Malik. In a moment of honesty, the 29-year-old opened up to US Weekly and revealed the reality of his relationship with Harry, admitting that the two of them barely spoke while they were in One Direction, let alone since. Zayn said, "To be honest, I never really spoke to Harry even when I was in the band, so I didn't really expect that much of a relationship with him, and I haven't had one." Sometime later, possibly in a response to Zayn's comments, Harry appeared on SNL and dragged Zayn during his opening monologue. He said, "I was in a band called One Direction. How crazy would it be if they were here tonight? I love those guys. They're my brothers. Niall, Liam, Louis, and Ringo." If you didn't catch that, he was implying that Zayn was a less important member of the group, as many Beatles fans see Ringo Starr as the least talented and least interesting person in the band. So what was his reaction? Well, a source close to the star told Hollywood Life that Zayn doesn't care what his former band member does or says, and that he'd rather not see his name in a headline with Harry ever again. But the whole thing was hardly a surprise to fans, given that the two of them weren't exactly best friends. They were more like co-workers. Number 7. Mark Wahlberg. This one was one of the most unlikely celebrity feuds in the history of celebrity feuds. In 2014, Mark Wahlberg appeared on Conan and revealed that his daughter's obsession with One Direction infuriated him, so much so that he threatened to beat Harry Styles up. It's pretty clear that the actor was never a fan of the singer to begin with and told Conan that his two little girls would rather talk about One Direction than their dad's movies. Quote, "My 4-year-old's going, 'Daddy, I like Harry,' and I'm like, well, I'm gonna punch Harry in the nose when I see him. She pulls out pictures of him and she's hiding pictures in the room, and I pretend I'm ripping them up and I get jealous. But if I see that little prick, he's gonna get it." Insinuating that if Harry didn't watch out, he was going to risk getting a black eye or two. Mark also discussed a plan to have One Direction do a song for one of his movies, only to lure them in so that he could basically beat the crap out of them. Quote, "I could say, 'Hey, I really want to meet One Direction, I'm a big fan, maybe you can do the title track for the song,' and then I would beat the crap out of them in a video." Of course, it seemed like he was just messing around or being sarcastic, but it was a little odd how long he kept the joke going. Number 6. Liam Payne. Twitter fans ridiculed Liam for airing the dirty laundry of his former 1D bandmates on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast. The 29-year-old reflected on the band's highs and lows, as well as the various feuds within the group and their personal problems in recent years. But fans took particular issue with the fact that he said his 2017 debut solo track, Strip That Down, outsold everyone else in the band. In fact, the whole interview came off as a little bit of a humble brag for Liam, and a lot of people were confused how he seemingly thought that he was the most successful member of the band. Liam also claimed that he was the chosen leader of One Direction, and disputed the notion that Harry was a frontman of the group. He insisted that the band was formed around him as a part of a promise that Simon had made to him 2 years prior. He explained that when he auditioned for X Factor the second time, he was thrown into the group, and Simon promised to make it work for him, and allegedly decided that Liam was to be the band's leader. But fans were very skeptical of the claim, and even Lizzo said, "I don't know who lied to that poor boy, but he was not the frontman." So it looks like the question is still up for debate. Number 5. Noel Gallagher. The English singer and songwriter who is a member of the band Oasis has a long history of questioning other artists' musical abilities. But Noel Gallagher made a whole lot of enemies when he decided to trash Harry Styles. In fact, he hated Harry even when he was in One Direction, and decided to go on record calling the band members something that rhymes with rock suckers, and said that they would all be in rehab by the time they're 30. Not only that, but he told the Daily Star that X Factor as an institution has nothing to do with music whatsoever, and that performers and bands that came from the show don't work as hard as real musicians. Quote, "You're not telling me that Harry Styles is currently sitting in a room somewhere writing a song. With any joy, he'll be surrounded by a lot of girls. I can assure you he's not got an acoustic guitar out trying to write a middle eight for something." Noel also claimed that his cat could have written Harry's debut single Sign of the Times in about 10 minutes. The singer has also trashed Little Mix and said that they were not in the same league as his own band, but clearly he doesn't take into account the size of a fan base either. Number 4, Billy Porter. Not everyone was happy to see Harry Styles gracing the cover of Vogue in 2020 while wearing a dress. In fact, actor and director Billy Porter felt that Harry was just copying him. In an interview with the Sunday Times, Porter slammed Harry's gender expression as performative. Quote, "He doesn't care, he's just doing it because it's the thing to do. This is politics for me, this is my life. I had to fight my entire life to get to the place where I could wear a dress to the Oscars. All he had to do is be white and straight." Porter went on to say, "I changed the whole game. I personally changed the whole game. And that is not ego, that is just fact. I was the first one doing it and now everybody's doing it. I created the conversation and yet Vogue still put Harry Styles in a dress on their cover for the first time." It's easy to see where Porter is coming from, considering that yes, he has spent years making waves in the gender fluid fashion world, and famously arrived at the 2019 Oscars in a Christian Siriano blazer dress, which kind of broke the internet at the time. But he also wasn't the first and only celebrity to ever push the envelope of gender binaries, so Harry shouldn't have been the target of his criticism here. Number 3, Taj Jackson. Michael Jackson's nephew was fuming when Rolling Stone UK tweeted out the cover of their November issue, which featured Harry Styles. The singer was pictured rocking a white fur stole and pink sequin shorts while holding a birthday cake with lit candles, and the title reading, "Harry Styles, How the New King of Pop Set the Music World Aflame." It's safe to say that this didn't go over too well with Taj Jackson, who immediately took to the comments to roast the magazine and demand a different title for Harry. He wrote, "There is no new king of pop. You don't own the title, Rolling Stone, and you didn't earn it. My uncle did. Decades of dedication and sacrifice. The title has been retired." The 49-year-old is the eldest child of Michael Jackson's brother Taito, and although he insisted that he wasn't disrespecting Harry, his 180,000 followers seemed to be out for blood and started joining in on the hate train against him. One user wrote, "Harry is like every other pop star, a Michael Jackson wannabe that will never be anywhere near as good or as talented as the real king of pop." Then Taj doubled down on his feelings and wrote, "There is only one king of pop, and no offense intended to Harry Styles, but he's not in the same league or universe as Michael Jackson." Wow. Number 2, Lucius. The American indie pop band did not hold back at all when they accused Harry Styles of not properly crediting them after they collaborated with the pop star on his 2019 song Treat People with Kindness. In an interview with the LA Times, the two lead vocalists, Jess Wolfe and Holly Lasig, said that Harry asked for their vocals on the song because they were already working on another song together at the time. Quote, "We were like, yeah, of course, it's just oohs and ahs, it's not a big deal, and it's a good opportunity for us. But we started singing and we were singing the whole chorus. 2 weeks later they sent us the track and it was literally us. We started the song, we sing every chorus, just us. We trade off in the bridge, it's us and Harry Styles." The women maintain that Harry didn't even link their band when he put the song on Spotify, which they claimed robbed them of critical exposure that they needed as a relatively unknown band. Quote, "It just hurt. There was an opportunity to spread the love a little bit, which he purports to do all the time, and it could have really helped us." While the situation does sound disheartening, it might not have been something that Harry did knowingly or maliciously. And coming in at number 1, Candace Owens. A lot of people had a lot to say in 2020 when Harry Styles made history as the first male to have a solo cover of Vogue, and just happened to be wearing a dress. To no one's surprise, the controversial conservative commentator did not approve of his clothing choice at all, and so she decided to attack him on Twitter, saying, "There is no society that can survive without strong men. The East East knows this. In the West, the steady feminization of our men at the same time that Marxism is being taught to our children is not a coincidence. It is an outright attack. Bring back manly men. She caught a lot of backlash for her comments, and people were quick to call her out for being photographed wearing a suit, and flooded her comment section with phrases like, "Bring back feminine women." In response to this, Olivia Wilde called Candace pathetic for basically attacking Harry's gender expression, and conflating wearing a dress with being feminine. Then in response to that tweet, Candace hit back at Olivia, tweeting, "You're single for a reason," referencing her split from longtime partner Jason Sudeikis, which was announced just days earlier. But regardless of how many people stood up for Harry, it's pretty clear that he just doesn't like labels, especially when it comes to gendered fashion. Number 9. Shia LaBeouf. The actor was initially cast as Jack in Olivia Wilde's upcoming film Don't Worry Darling, which debuts in theaters this fall. However, news broke in September of 2020 that she had replaced him with Harry Styles. But the story that Olivia began circulating was a little different. She alleged that she fired Shia due to a no a-hole policy that she had while directing. She told Variety, "Shia's process was not conducive to the ethos that I demand in my productions. He has a process that, in some ways, seems to require a combative energy, and I don't personally believe that is conducive to the best performances. Ultimately, my responsibility is to production and to the cast to protect them." But Shia was not happy with this side of the story and decided to publicly expose Olivia. He emailed both the director and Variety and denied that he was fired, instead saying, "You and I both know the reasons for my exit. I quit your film because of your actors, and I couldn't find time to rehearse." And in the most explosive revenge move ever, Shia then leaked a video of Olivia practically begging him to stay in the film and making it seem like Florence Pugh was the problem and she was the one who didn't want him there. The video went viral and the result was utter chaos. Number 8. Imani Barbarin. The author, influencer, and activist reacted to the hypocrisy surrounding the viral video that was leaked of Olivia Wilde addressing the feud between Shia LaBeouf and Florence Pugh. She tweeted, "This whole Olivia Wilde thing reminds me of the Whitney Cummings thing, reminds me of so many recent incidents in Hollywood where white women have revealed that they acquire power in the industry not because they challenge norms but tout female empowerment while changing nothing." In the clip, the 38-year-old is seen driving a car and speaking to the camera at the same time. She tells Shia that she is not ready to give up on the possibility of him working on the film, despite the fact that she later claimed to have fired him. But in reality, the video exposed that she was the one pleading with him to stay on the project. Shia was pretty much out to expose her and wrote an email to Variety explaining how everything went down. Quote, "Firing me never took place, Olivia, and while I fully understand the attractiveness of pushing that story because of the current social landscape, the social currency that brings, it is not the truth. So I am humbly asking, as a person with an eye toward making things right, that you correct the narrative as best as you can." Number 7. Tao Ruspoli. Olivia met her first husband, filmmaker and Italian prince Tao Ruspoli, through a friend of her family's in late 2002. The actress wasn't initially eager to meet him, but she warmed to the idea and she was charmed by his personality, charisma, and political activism. Just 6 months later, they eloped and seemed to be truly happy, and would eventually go on to pursue several film projects together. But in March of 2011, 8 years after eloping, Olivia filed for divorce from Tao. He did seem to be a lot more heartbroken out of the two of them, and even made a documentary called Monogamish, which was inspired by his heartbreak over the divorce. In the film, he revealed, "My wife just left me after nearly 10 years together, and my whole world has crumbled." But for her part, it seemed like Olivia almost wanted to embarrass her ex. In 2020, at an event hosted by Glamour Mag, she discussed trying to fake happiness with her ex-husband towards the end of her marriage. In fact, she aired out all their dirty laundry and talked about how bad their sex life was. Quote, "I felt like my vagina died. Turned off, lights out. You can lie to your relatives at Christmas dinner and tell them everything on the home front is just peachy, but you cannot lie to your vagina." Even if she was joking, that would have been a little painful for anyone to hear. Number 6. Gianmarco Soresi. As Olivia Wilde was presenting at CinemaCon and talking about her new movie Don't Worry Darling, a woman from the audience approached her and handed her a yellow envelope, which read "Personal and Confidential." The whole thing was caught on camera. As the actress opened the envelope, she found that it was custody papers from her former partner Jason Sudeikis. After a brief moment of shock, she decided to continue on with her presentation, but later addressed the bizarre moment in an interview with Variety. Quote, "In any other workplace, it would be seen as an attack. It was really upsetting. It shouldn't have been able to happen. There was a huge breach in security, which is really scary. The incident put Jason in a really bad light, but surprisingly, some people thought it was staged." Gianmarco Cerezi, a New York actor and stand-up comedian, seemed to believe that the whole thing was a PR stunt. He tweeted, "We're a couple of days away from finding out that Olivia Wilde served herself custody papers." Not only did his tweet blow up, but a lot of people were apparently thinking the same thing. As another user wrote, "On the very same day, Olivia just announced the release of the trailer of her new movie, and days later, Jason started a new project. As if they wanted all the attention on them. Open your eyes." Wow. Number 5. Florence Pugh. As we know, the Hollywood it girl appears in Olivia Wilde's upcoming film alongside Harry Styles. However, there was reportedly much tension on the set between the two women. Florence allegedly wasn't too happy seeing her director hook up with Harry, considering the fact that at the time she was still married to Jason Sudeikis. But the main reason for the feud between the two actresses is because Florence reportedly did not feel safe or comfortable playing Shia's love interest in the movie, as the actor has been recently plagued with disturbing allegations like accusations of domestic violence. And while Olivia made it seem like she was understanding and going to accommodate her request, the video Shia leaked of her tells a different story entirely. In the video, Olivia sounded heartbroken that he was leaving the project and instead makes it seem like Florence was the problem after all. She said, "The fact that you're leaving might be a little bit of a wake-up call to Miss Flo. If she really commits, if she really puts her mind and heart into this at this point, and if you guys can make peace, and I respect your point of view, I respect hers, but if you guys can do it, what do you think?" So it's easy to see why Florence would be upset at that. Number 4. Vanessa Hudgens. When the High School Musical star made some pretty controversial comments complaining about having to quarantine and COVID restrictions, Olivia Wilde was quick to shut her down. During the Instagram live, Vanessa Hudgens said, "Yeah, till July sounds like a bunch of BS. I'm sorry. It's a virus. I get it. I respect it. But at the same time, like, even if everybody gets it, people are gonna die, which is terrible, but like inevitable." Her tone-deaf comments earned her a whole bunch of backlash on social media, especially from Olivia, who slammed her in a tweet of her own, writing, "In 1,000 years, they'll dig up our society and find this precious digital moment and be like, oh okay, so this is why they mysteriously disappeared from the earth." She also left emojis of a head shaking in disappointment. All the criticism ultimately led the actress to return to her Instagram to clear up the misunderstandings. Vanessa wrote, "Hey guys, so yesterday I did an Instagram live and I realized that some of my comments are being taken out of context," and she proceeded to apologize for coming off as insensitive. It's unclear whether or not the two have made up since 2020, but it's likely Vanessa is still feeling the sting from being burned online. Number 3. Mark Joseph Stern. When the 2009 movie Richard Jewell came out, it was steeped in controversy, mostly because of Olivia Wilde's portrayal of real-life journalist Kathy Scruggs. The real Kathy, who died in 2001, was working at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution when she broke a story that the FBI was investigating a security guard named Richard Jewell for the bombing in Centennial Olympic Park during the 1996 Olympics. But the issue with the movie was that it depicted the iconic female journalist as having traded sex for information, which was particularly offensive considering the fact that there was no evidence Kathy Scruggs ever did that, and even many of her past colleagues came forward condemning the movie. Slate's senior writer was among the loudest voices in protest of the film and slammed Olivia for her role. Quote, "Please do not pay to see movies that feature fictional female journalists who sleep with sources for a story. It's egregiously sexist, demeaning, and an insulting trope at this stage, and I don't see an appropriate response other than a flat-out boycott. It's 2019. Smart, thoughtful people have condemned this offensive trope loudly and consistently for years. They have persuasively explained why it is abhorrent." And he wasn't the only one taking offense. Number 2. Jessica Biel. There was once a claim out there that Jessica Biel did not want Justin Timberlake to be anywhere near his ex-girlfriend Olivia Wilde, and allegedly sees her as a threat. It's completely understandable that Jessica wouldn't be jumping at the opportunity for Justin to work with Olivia again, given that in 2011 they were seen partying together at a Hollywood club called the Roxbury, and allegedly got pretty handsy before leaving together at 3 a.m. The actors, who were co-stars at the time in the movie Now, reportedly cuddled in a VIP section before moving out onto the patio. Eyewitnesses said that the two of them were even seen kissing. Even though Olivia responded to the rumors by tweeting, "Cool it, honey badgers, is, "We are just friends and have been for years." But not only that, Jessica's marriage to Justin was also tested in 2019 when he was spotted with his co-star Alicia holding hands during a night out in New Orleans. The photos caused a huge scandal, and Justin had to make a public statement the following month, apologizing for his strong lapse in judgment and claimed that despite the photos, nothing happened between him and his co-star. So Justin certainly has a rocky history when it comes to infidelity. And coming in at number 1, Jason Sudeikis. After a 7-year engagement, the pair announced that they had separated in November of 2020. Like most celebrity couples that live in the public eye, their divorce is very messy, and so was their big public breakup and bitter custody battle over their 2 young children. But it seems like these two are still at each other's throats, which may or may not be due to the fact that Olivia allegedly cheated on Jason with Harry Styles, which was one of the main reasons for their split. In fact, it was heavily implied that the two of them had been having an affair for around a month before the breakup. And what made it even worse was that Jason reportedly didn't realize it was happening and even brought their children to visit the set. The actress and director was faced with a bitter surprise when she was served custody papers halfway through her talk. She later told Variety, "I hated that this nastiness distracted from the work of so many different people, and the studio that I was up there representing try and sabotage that was really vicious. But you know, sadly, it was not something that was entirely surprising to me. I mean, there's a reason that I left that relationship." Ouch.